Hi everyone, and welcome to part 5 of our teacher series on running debate clubs. So today we're doing competitions, when to do competitions, when to start doing them, which to pick, how to pick teams, and setting goals, which is a hugely underrated part of debate competitions, I think, and also a very misunderstood part. And lastly, some top tips for you and your students. So let's get straight into it. So when to do competitions? Um, so firstly, a few caveats. If it is a long prep competition, meaning the students have a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks from hearing the motion or the topic, and they can prepare and then they deliver that usually one speech, if it's a long prep format, they can whenever, anytime, because they're rarely going to absolutely screw that one up if they've got weeks to prepare. So public speaking competitions and debate competitions where all the motions are long prep, you can do them ASAP, whenever, the sooner the better. However, when thinking about short prep debating competitions, which remember are the competitions we think are the most use because you have the highest ratio of practice to prep time, with practice being the paramount thing that we want our students to be engaging in order to improve their public speaking. With short prep debate competitions, the main thing to think about is, will your students be able to turn up to this debating competition, debate, not well, just debate, say things, listen to things, and maybe respond to things, not cry, not want to quit debating at the end of the competition, and maybe have some fun. That's the stage where you start competing. Not when you think they're going to be competitive, not when you think they're going to win, not when you think you're going to be in the top 10%. When they can go, do the thing, not embarrass themselves, and enjoy it. Now, if you're like, I have no earthly idea what the standard is, so I have no earthly idea if they're capable of that, there's a few things to consider. One is, are they the sorts of kids who, if they do lose all the debates or most of the debates, they're going to have a breakdown? If so, that's problematic. You need to take kids who are able to lose and keep on trucking. If the kids are really sensitive or really just not used to losing, and you think they're just not ready for it emotionally, then don't take them yet, because they're gonna lose. A lot of them are. If you have kids who you think are just gonna not care, but they're just gonna keep on trucking no matter what, like they're pretty tough, then those kids can go a lot sooner. Here are some markers that your kids are not ready or are ready to do some standard UK BP short prep debating competitions. In short prep, where they're giving 15 minutes from hearing a motion to doing a debate, do they speak for more or less than 4 minutes? If it's more than 4 minutes, they're fine. If it's less than 3, I wouldn't send them. Between 3 and 4, it's on the edge. Okay? Because most kids at these competitions will use the full 5 minutes. And so if your kid's only speaking for 2 minutes or less, and every other kid in the room is speaking for 5 minutes, they're out of their depth. And it's just a good proxy that they're not ready and that practice debates at lunchtime are what they need. If they've done less than 5 debates in their life, then yeah, that's not good. They need more practice. Usually, if they've done 5 or 6 practice debates, they're good for a competition. And then lastly, they should understand the format a little. So assuming it's a BP debating competition, short prep, they need to kind of know what BP means. Things they should know, for example, that there are 4 teams, that there are teams of 2, what proposition and opposition mean, what a summary speech is, roughly, why that motions start at this house, how to read a draw, and what points of information are. If they don't know any of that stuff, that's going to make it a harder day for them, because if you don't understand the format, then you spend your time worrying about the format. And the problem with that is that you're not worrying about actual debate stuff, like coming up with arguments and rebuttal and winning. You're worried about like who speaks next. And just so stuff like that is stuff you really want to make sure they know. Now, if you don't know all that stuff about the format, then ask someone that you're in contact with at the competition to explain it to you. If it's BP, then we're going to have a video about that pretty soon, so that's good. If it's another format, we're not going to have a video about every format, so find out somewhere else. The internet is your friend. Make sure your kids understand the basics of the format they're about to compete in, and ideally, they should have done some practice debates in that format. That's going to be a really good way to prepare them. If it's a BP competition, they should have done at least a couple BP practice debates in your school before they compete. They do not have to understand the high-level intricacies of the format. BP, for example, has a lot of high-level tactical stuff going on at high levels. There are hour-long lectures on narrow aspects of BP because it's such a popular and because it goes so high in terms of quality as a format. Kids don't need to know why prop sum is more rebuttal heavy than op sum, why DPM is the most rebuttal heavy position, what backloading is, and whether or not it should be allowed in DLO. They don't need to know stuff like that. They do need to know there are 4 teams and that there are 2 people in each team. Alright, so that's when to do competitions. Next. Picking the right competitions. So, as quickly as possible, you do want to be doing the types of competitions that we advocate for, which is content formats, short prep formats, and full day competitions where students get 3 or 4 debates each, and so there's a lot of practice. And in the UK, that's typically going to be BP competitions that are most often run by universities. Although, of course, we as an organisation, Standard Speaking, run some, and other organisations do as well. Some are very good, some not so much. But university ones, while varying in quality, are usually fairly decent. However, those competitions, it's a full Saturday usually. 3 or 4 debates is a lot for some kids, and some of the teams will be very, very good. As such, you might want to start off by having a few friendlies that you just organise with a local school on a weeknight, have a couple debates, maybe enter, you have 2 teams, they have 2 teams, maybe a third school gets involved, and you have a couple debates, maybe concurrently, and then one more round of debates after that, and then everyone's done by 8:30. Something like that can be quite nice, a sort of nice bridge. Similarly, some competitions that are on the weeknight are usually a little bit more chilled, a little bit less serious, and probably not quite as good quality for novice to intermediate debaters to be learning from, but just to get your feet wet, they can be really good. In terms of picking teams, so this was a slide that I wasn't even sure to put in because the last point in this slide is the most important point for me. At novice stage, I wouldn't worry too much about team selection. Yes, with my advanced students who are, trialing for the England and the Scotland national teams and who are finaling in very, very good competitions, I do think quite a lot about all the different tactical, knowledge-based, teamwork-based reasons to put certain people together. And there's different goals for different competitions and all that sort of stuff. But for my students who joined debating in the last month and who I can barely tell apart, I'm not obsessing over who I'm pairing them with in a team. I just pair them up and send them off as soon as I think they're ready. I do often put friends together if I know that a couple kids are from the same year, maybe are obviously friends, have come along together. That can be nice. It can be a nice way for them to handle losing together and celebrate winning together. But outside of that, as long as I think they'll get on for the full day and that they don't obviously hate each other, or that they won't, or that one won't bully the other, something like that, then I'm just not that worried. Different styles and approaches, it's not a bad thing, it's not particularly useful, just doesn't matter. I think if you have some kids who are debating together a lot in practice, then they're good ones to send to a competition because they'll be used to each other. And if you pick a team for a competition that's upcoming, give the teams a chance to practice in their competitive teams during your practice debates. Apart from that, don't worry too much about team selection. Goals. So I think it's very important as a teacher to be clear in your own mind, or a coach, to be clear in your own mind why you are going to these competitions. And to go in with that goal front and center and to act accordingly. I do not think your goal should be to win because, firstly, you're probably not going to. I mean, in your first few competitions, I'd be amazed if you ever won. If you do win, I guess it was just a really bad competition, which is fair enough. But you're not going to be winning a lot of debates early on, probably, in serious competitions. So that probably shouldn't be your goal. Exactly what your goal is, if you just want the kids to gain more confidence, if it's about increasing political engagement, if it's just, to put something in the school newsletter or to help yourself get a promotion. I mean, I'm not disparaging any of these goals. I just want you to know what the goal is when you go into it. For me, I would say that if a teacher comes to me and says, I don't know why I'm competing, why am I doing this? I would say it's the best possible practice and it's really fun. And therefore, those should be the goals. Get good practice, try to learn some stuff, have a lot of fun. They're going to get good practice no matter what. It'll be slightly better if they're enjoying it. And therefore, I think the most important thing you can focus on as a teacher is that your kids have a good time. That they go to their first competition and at the end of it, they want to do a second. Because them coming back, them doing more and more competitions, is how they get good. You and your students will learn stuff every competition you go to. And you'll probably learn a bit more if, you pay attention to what the judges say and you take notes and you're observant and you listen in. But in general, learning stuff at competitions is almost a given. Enjoying competitions is not a given. Some kids don't enjoy them, they have a miserable time, and they often don't come back. And that's not just in new debate schools, that's in experienced debate schools who I think take these competitions too seriously sometimes. I have a lot of fun with my students when I take them to competitions. We have funny team names, we socialise in between rounds. Obviously nowadays it's online, so we don't do that as much. But we would play games like Dobble, or if the kids are just all socialising and having fun, I just, go sit in a corner and read a book so that I can let them be kids for an afternoon, which is perfectly normal. But I try to make sure my students are enjoying their time at competitions, and I think that's really important. So, some top tips for you and your students. Be super supportive and encouraging throughout the competition. Debating's tough, it really is. The kids need you to be a cheerleader much more than they need you to give them advice on how to debate better. The advice can come in practice debates and after competitions. Mid competition, I wouldn't really give them that much advice or tell them what to do more of or less of or anything like that. Judges will tell them some stuff. Just be supportive. Tell them all the stuff they do well, but not much more. Don't sweat the results. Look, they're going to lose, they're going to win. At this point, it's all about having fun and learning. So just don't make a big deal out of the kids who win or lose, and just keep reminding them it's just about having fun and improving. It's not about first, second, third, fourth. Listen to the judges. Judges often say very relevant, useful things, and it's good to learn from them. Some of them will say crazy, crackpot nonsense, but a lot of them will say very useful things. So take note of that. Something not enough people do is remind your students to eat, drink water, and chill out. Between rounds, if it's online, they should get some screen time break. Whether that's walking around the block or just literally being away from a computer for 5 minutes while they make a cup of tea. Just make sure that they're not constantly on the computer all day. If it's an in-person competition, they need to be drinking water and eating food because debating does burn calories, and they're young. they need their energy, and try to make sure they're having some fun and relaxing between rounds. Whether that's you playing games with them or them just being kids with each other, either way, just it shouldn't feel like a day of lectures or anything. It should feel like a day out. Take some notes yourself and encourage them to bring their debating notebooks that they use at practice and to jot down some feedback and some thoughts after every round so that they can learn from the experience. And most importantly, just have fun. Just have fun with it. You know, enjoy watching your kids debate. Um, Laugh easily with them. Play some games with them if you want. Have silly team names or whatever if that's the sort of thing they're into. Just have fun with your students because you want them to enjoy these competitions. So, next time, we're going to talk about how to run training sessions. So, once you've been running practice debates and then you've started doing friendlies or competitions, the next stage is to do some formal training. We're going to talk about whether or not you should do that yourself or try and hire coaches. And if you're going to do it yourself but you're not sure you have enough knowledge, the sorts of things that you can do without intense debate knowledge that are still very, very useful training. And yeah, we'll give some ideas as well for how you can accumulate more debate knowledge so that you can run more and more and more advanced training sessions. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like to talk to us about anything, if you'd like us to do some CPD in your school or some coaching, either online or in person, or if you'd like to be involved in our competitions in the future, either online or in person, or you'd just like to be on our mailing list and hear about our competitions, then do give us an email. We'd love to hear from you, or just comment in the video below. In the meantime, thanks so much. Keep debating, and we'll see you next time. Bye.